Morning from Sandhurst Lake, down on the Hampshire-Surrey border. My name's Steve French. I'm with a company called weedcutter.co.uk. We've been invited here by Nick Leach, who owns the water, to help him out with his weed control problem. Anglers are having problems, one, presenting baits, and secondly, landing fish that they're fortunate enough to hook. Approximately 2 years ago, the EU banned the use of aquatic herbicides in inland waterways. Since then, the lakes and rivers have progressively got weedier and weedier. Myself and my partner Paul, we've been lifelong anglers, carp angling in particular, so we've seen the weed problems that have occurred over the years. This time of year, we're now in middle to end of April, is ideal to cut the early growth, to really knock the weed back in its early stages, and also to harrow the bottom, which upsets the rooting of the weeds and makes it much more difficult for it to establish itself. It will come back, there's no getting away from that. Weed is a weed and it will grow relentlessly. And so hopefully we would have solved the problem for a couple of months and it will free up the early part of the season. But it will start coming back again, probably in June, July, depending on how much sunshine we get. So we then recommend a second cut later in early autumn to mid-autumn, with a view to obviously remove as much weed as possible to make it fishable at that current time. But also to reduce the volume of weed rotting through the winter months. Before it starts breaking down, cut it, get it out of the water so that you're reducing the amount of black sediment that builds up. You'll still get the silt builds up as normal. There will always be that because we can't clear it all, unfortunately. But it stops the black decaying mass that forms in many waters these days, particularly the tree-line waters. Weedcutter.co.uk is based in Malden in Essex, but that doesn't restrict us to just that area. We work on many different waters, primarily carp fisheries, mainly the busier places as so far, such as Chilham Mill down in Kent. That's a very weedy water full of Canadian pondweed, and we've done lots of work on there and we're due back again soon. Sandhurst and many day ticket waters. We're going into Linear in the next few weeks. Hopefully we can solve their problems for them as well. The advantage of this particular boat is that it's small enough to be delivered on the back of a jeep and a trailer, so we can launch it in swims such as this. It's a very versatile machine, can get into any nook and cranny. It's very quick, it's very manoeuvrable, and literally can get in right in under the trees. It makes very little disturbance to the bankside, and to be honest, you probably wouldn't notice that we've been on a venue. The boat itself has two means of cutting. We've got a T-cutter on the front of the boat, which is like a giant hedge cutter that goes down to a depth of 4.5 to 5 feet. So shallower waters, that's perfect. We can just bounce along the bottom, cutting at the base of the weed. If that's not deep enough, we have a V-blade, which is 2 metre lengths of spring steel, forming a V attached to a chain to the back of the boat, which is on a hydraulic ram that constantly pulls it along the lake bed. Now that will cut in all depths of water. It's literally dependent on the length of chain we attach to it. Once all that's done, we change over and attach a hydraulic rake. We collect the weed on that, and we can actually deposit it on the bank, and we can get it about 5 feet away from the water's edge. The weed, once it's on the bank, it is recommended that it's moved away from the water's edge. The liquors that come off the weed contain all the seeds and perfect fertiliser for it to regrow, but it is all about the management of the water rather than a one-stop solution. Please understand that we're not able to turn this into a swimming pool. What we do is we cut and remove as much weed as we physically can, and we'll probably get somewhere in the region of 30 to 50 tonnes of cut weed out of this water in 3 days, which is an awful lot of weed, and the volume of it on the bank is much more than anybody expects. We work on a day rate of £475 a day, plus VAT unfortunately, and there is also a delivery cost, a one-off delivery cost, which obviously depends on where you're based. If you're a fishery owner or any venue owner for that matter, and you need some help with your weed control, then please give us a call. No obligation, we're more than happy to come out and do site assessments and give you a report on what we feel needs doing. So today we've got probably about 20 tonnes of weed left to pick up, but we'll be cracking on with that in the next few minutes, and hopefully when we leave today this will be a pristine carp water at its best, ready for the next set of anglers to come along.